Hello, and welcome to my channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. We are going to do a hindsight reading for the element of fire. So the purpose of these readings are to take a look at something that you may have recognized in hindsight and get some advice about what you can do moving forward. So take a look at the timestamps below to find your sign. Pick the one that resonates with you most deeply, and I will see you there. We are going to do a hindsight reading for the sign of Aries. So we're going to take a look at something that you may have looked back on and recognized that you needed to get a greater understanding on, and you were only able to get that by looking back after it happened. We're also going to get some advice on what you can do moving forward in order to incorporate the lessons of what you have already experienced into your life so that you can have the wisdom to take and make choices that are going to align with your highest possible good moving forward. All right, Aries. So looking at these cards, it appears that you may recognize that you did not quite raise your standards and move into a leadership role or position. I feel like this might have been tempered by this sense of feeling just a lot of self-criticism. I feel like you either didn't want to go into situations with a lot of conflict because you did not feel like you were equipped to handle a lot of conflictual situations, or I'm also seeing here that it could be that you knew that you had a propensity to maybe be quick to either anger or to make decisions or do things that would lead to conflict in a reckless manner. So just making decisions that are just not morally or ethically aligned. And you recognized already that this is an issue that you kind of struggle with, okay? And I feel like because of that, it made it difficult for you to try to live up to this standard to take on a leadership position. And with this raising your standards card, it's a peacock, and to me, like, this kind of is symbolic of like spiritual enlightenment and just different levels of like spiritual development. And I feel like there's this sense of trying to prevent yourself from going into certain spaces, or trying to prevent this energy of kind of doing things in a reckless manner that could lead to conflict that is not suitable for a leadership position. And I feel like you also recognize that you really tried to maybe overcompensate for this by just working really, really hard, not allowing yourself to rest, and just doing a lot to try to make things happen. I feel like you really wanted to see yourself in a successful space. I feel like you had big dreams for yourself, and you just worked tirelessly to do this, even though you might have struggled with this thing here, which is this propensity to behave in a manner that is not conducive to being a person in a leadership position with a high sense of personal, ethical, and maybe even moral standards here is what I'm seeing. So let's look at your advice here. The advice that we have is to release the dark wound and let love live. So this is speaking to perhaps belief systems that you may have had that you were trying to like get rid of without allowing yourself to grow. And I feel like this speaks to like this energy here, that what you're looking back on is the sense of feeling like you wanted to be the best that you could be. You wanted to be a leader. You wanted to be in a position of authority. You wanted to be the best you that you could be. And because you were trying to do that, you tried to kind of go skip the process of actually having to go through the development of your character and your ethics and your morality to actually match up with what it is that you were trying to do. You might have tried to fit yourself, like control your behavior. Don't allow your propensity to maybe make bad decisions that are bad in the sense that they might cause harm to others or yourself, or they might have consequences that you don't quite want to deal with and that others don't want to deal with. That this sense of trying to kind of skip that process of really going deep to figure out why you struggle with that and how that has become a part of your belief system, to just jumping over it and working really, really hard to try to not be that, and not giving yourself a break and trying to just circumvent that process, has put you into this energy of feeling like, you can't almost even ask for like even divine intervention or help to allow you to be who you are and accept unconditional love in that space. And then from that space to get a healing that allows you to really, truly kind of process that so you can be in the image that you do want to be in. Because I'm picking up someone who just does not like to be a person that takes reckless action. And I feel like it's a part of like personality. I feel like this could be very deeply rooted in your personality. It could be just an aspect of how the person is wired to be. And they know that the wiring is off, but they feel like it's very difficult to do anything different. And so they work really hard to try to be anything but that. But in doing so, they still come up against situations where their standards and how they actually are doesn't align with what they're trying to do because of this, almost like this wounding. And it could be a false belief about yourself that you might have taken on early in life that makes you feel like this is who you are, and it's kind of rewired your thinking and the way that you are so that you show up that way. Okay, so let's look at the advice, the words of affirmation for this card. It says, say the declaration below out loud 3 times and be in your heart and really feel what you are expressing. I now choose of my own free will to release all cellular memories and belief systems based in the dark wound of criticism, judgment, shaming, and fear, so that my creative, loving energy may thrive in a nourishing environment conducive to growth. Through all time and space, through all dimensions of my being, through unconditional love, so be it. I now choose of my own free will to release all cellular memories and belief systems based in the dark wound of criticism, judgment, shaming, and fear, so that my creative, loving energy may thrive in a nourishing environment conducive to growth. Through all time and space, through all dimensions of my being, through unconditional love, so be it. I now choose of my own free will to release all cellular memories and belief systems based in the dark wound of criticism, judgment, shaming, and fear, so that my creative, loving energy may thrive in a nourishing environment conducive to growth. Through all time and space, through all dimensions of my being, through unconditional love, so be it. All right, Aries, this is what I have for you, and I hope it was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me on this channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. And until the next video, bye-bye. This is a hindsight reading for the sign of Leo. So the purpose of this reading is to take a look at what you may have realized in retrospect about something that you recently experienced or something you experienced in the past. We're also going to get some advice about what you can do to integrate the wisdom that you acquired during this experience into your path moving forward. So, looking at your cards, Leo, it appears that you may not have been living life to the fullest. And I feel at the root of this was a sense of like a wounded inner child. Now, a lot of times when we speak of inner child, our inner childhood, we think of it as just being this very vulnerable aspect to ourselves that usually can become beset upon by the cares and the system of this world that we live in. However, I also see this inner child as being your most authentic, most powerful, most determined, purposeful version of yourself, because this is who you are before anybody came in to tell you differently. And unfortunately, a lot of times we have experiences in our lives that make us not want to be that thing that gives us the most joy, that thing that literally made us come to life, that thing that drew us in to want to have this experience, to be this person, this sense of just pure possibility and expectation. And I'm seeing here that you may have had this sense of feeling that you could not find the right time to do specific things or to become like self-realized because you just didn't have a sense of worthiness. You didn't feel worthy to do that. You didn't think that you deserved it. And I feel like this came from maybe words put out by other people around you in your environment about who deserves what. You know, these people get this. These people get that. If you do this, then you get that. If you don't do this, then you don't get that. Oh, you're showing up for this? What qualifies you for this? What makes you think that you should be in this space? People like you don't do this. People from there don't do that. I feel very strongly that there was that kind of energy at play. I also feel like you had a lot of barriers, like there were doors that you needed to enter into. And I feel as if you could not get into them because maybe you were blocking yourself, not only because of what you were taught about yourself and what your level of worthiness was, if you were qualified to even go to these doors and do things. I feel like you also had some internal senses of not being worthy. Maybe you were condemning yourself for certain failings and shortcomings that you may have had. And because of that, you felt like you were not worthy to move into certain spaces. And so as a result of that, you also locked yourself out. So you've got this external blocking you, and then you've got this internal energy blocking you as well. And kind of just creating this almost like prison in your mind that kept you from going into certain spaces, okay? Very strongly, I'm just getting this image of how we are constantly bombarded with images of upward mobility, and you could do whatever you want, you could be whatever you want, just do it, just do it, just do it, dream it, be it, do it. And what's not being addressed is the level of energy and effort that goes into creating a world and a society that has silent checks and balances, where some people learn at a very young age that if everyone is saying that, oh, I just want to go do this and I just want to go do that, I'm just going to do it. If I really want to do it, just do it. When they take the same path or they try to do the same thing, they find all these little silent checks and balances that are built into the society, built into their life, that they're not able to quite do that. And so it can become a form of sorrow and even suffering to be constantly presented with this idea that, oh, if you want to be this, if you want to do this, just do it. Oh, you can't do it? Oh, it's because you're not trying hard enough, and it's because you're not doing this. You should have done that. And really, it's just a very highly, highly elaborate form of gaslighting for these inner child energies on this planet here that are here to be a certain way and to show up a certain way. And then they're systematically blocked from doing so with all these little, things in their path to block them. And then if you can overcome it, if you're a part of that percentage of people who can charge themselves through and get through that, then those people tend to be elevated and seen as being, oh, see, everybody can do it. If this person can do it, how come you can't? Because for every one of those people, you don't see the hundreds of thousands who just could not overcome that. And some of that is through no fault of your own. But I feel like you're looking back and you're recognizing some of that, but you're also seeing how a lot of this is a prison that was made in your mind, and you're recognizing how you can overcome this, not by dealing with external obstacles and trying to make stuff happen in your external reality, but looking inside of yourself and seeing where you agree with some of these checks and balances, where you agree with some of these false beliefs about your worthiness and how you need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G just to be who you are, that you were born on this planet to be. So your advice that we have here is come to life. And in this picture, there's a woman who is painting herself. She is allowing, there's a monkey holding a little thing of paint, and she's dipping her brush in and painting her skin. There's a crow on her shoulder, a snake wrapped around her hand. So I feel like this is not allowing the darkness of the separation from your truest, highest self, your separation to God, to become the thing that hinders you. It's taking and finding the light within that, and then using that as the vibrant colors to paint yourself into life, to become the expression of the life that you want to be. All right. So let's look at the words of affirmation that are associated with this, okay? It says, lie quietly and play some beautiful music that you love. Allow it to move through your body as though the sound is pure energy and you are as light as air. Let the sound feel good. Let your cells receive the sound energy. Feel the music rattle about in your body, as if the sound waves are making your cells vibrate, because they are. Let there be life. Get up and move if you wish. If you have emotion arising, be with it, but don't hold on to it. Let it rise and fall as it will. Be in this process as long as feels right for you. Feeling you have had enough indicates that you have completed the healing process for this oracle. You may wish to repeat this exercise daily for several weeks. If so, choose music that feels right for you each time. You can then see the difference this healing process has on your well-being, your energy levels, and the ease in which you access your intuition and feelings. Also, note the clarity in what you perceive. You might be surprised at what a little music therapy, consciously received, can do for you. All right, Leo, that is what I have for your hindsight reading. I hope that it was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me on this channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. And until the next video, bye-bye. We are going to do a hindsight reading for the sign of Sagittarius. So we're going to take a look at what you may have realized in retrospect and get some advice about how you can incorporate the lesson of whatever you learned into your path moving forward. All right? So that we can move forward and not backwards. So, looking at the cards, it appears that you may have recognized that you were not able to let go of certain situations. I feel like it's surrounding your ability to protect children, your children, or even feeling protected as like a divine child of God as well, is what I'm picking up here. There could have been, I feel like there could have been some back and forth where there was conversation, or maybe people were judging you based on your ability or what they perceived was your parenting ability. And because of this, you felt like you had to keep a mask on of always being like this knight in shining armor, triumphing over adversity, thing after thing taking place, and you had to just show up. Like you didn't have the privilege truly to show up and say, hey, this is really difficult, or this is a lot to deal with, or this makes no sense, or this is an insane level of things for any person, or particularly a parent, to deal with, and still have children and raise them and have to do all these things, because I feel like you're being judged. And I feel like it was unfairly by people who are pointing fingers and saying things that are based on half-truths and some outright lies. And because they are not in the situation, and also because they have a very specific way of thinking and stereotyping certain people, I feel like you were unfairly having to perform and show up in a way that that no one really should be asked to do. All right, it's almost like a sophisticated form of gaslighting, because it's like if you were to say something, then it's like, well, why is that so hard for you? When these individuals are not in the same situation and would not put themselves there, okay? But I'm almost picking up a sense of like Schadenfreude, is that the correct way to say it? It's like a German word that means where people actually enjoy watching other people struggle and suffer, because it makes their lives feel better. It makes them feel more validated in what they're doing, because ultimately they're really not happy in their own lives. The only thing that makes them happy is to see other people doing worse than them, or struggling, or going through it. And unfortunately, there are people on this planet who get a lot of sense of self-worth and validation from watching mothers and children struggle, because for them that makes their life not seem so bad. Even though it is bad for them, they can ignore it a little bit longer if they see somebody else like that suffering, okay? So I feel like you may have also recognized the need to cut off. With this Knight card, I feel like it's the sense to cut off these connections, these tangled webs and vines that you might have to energies like that, who might have come across you as being helpful and like caring and concerned, but really you're feeding into their sense of validation in watching you struggle. You may have also recognized that you needed to forgive yourself for not being able to show up the way that you wanted to, and for not feeling like you could be this healing bridge that just protects your children and from certain experiences, because you really don't have a lot of control over that in the circumstance. And I feel like you had this sense of guilt that you couldn't do that. And you may not have actually taken care of yourself because you felt like you couldn't take care of your own children to the best of your ability, the way that you would like to, the way that you felt was right for you. And so I feel like this is saying that you recognize the need to pour into yourself, allow yourself to heal, give yourself some love and compassion, because you're not getting it in your environment. You're not getting it from people around you, because what I'm seeing here as blunt, and I don't like to be this blunt, but I feel like it's important for this because it is a hindsight reading, to say that you don't have that support. You might have a few, but a lot of the people or people in your surroundings are not supportive. And they really are not compassionate, and they don't really have a lot of empathy. It's a false form of empathy that's undergirded by a lot of gossiping and slandering and pointing fingers to make themselves feel better. And with this mask card here, true feelings are masked, I feel as if, it could not only just be that you put on a mask to try to make it look as if you weren't, that you were overcoming your stuff, you're a strong mother and you're doing this, or father, whatever the case. But I also feel like this is a mask on the people around you who are pretending to be one way, but like behind it, it's a void of like, there's no compassion there. There's no sense of anything. They're putting on a social face of how they should interact with a person in your circumstance, while behind it, just really feeling very full within themselves in seeing somebody do worse than them. That's just what I see here. So moving forward here, I feel like your advice here for what you've already experienced, because remember, this is in hindsight, so this is not, it could still be happening now, but I feel like if it is, the purpose of this reading is not to make you feel paranoid or feel like, oh my goodness, but it's more so for people who already know this. So if this is your case, you would already know. And sorry, I'm getting a little bass in my voice. When I get these kind of readings, I get a little bass in there. But I feel like you already know this. This is something that is not news to you. You're already aware. This is more of a confirmation of what you've already experienced. And so your advice is listening for truth. So allowing the spirals of manifestation to speak for themselves. So regardless of what the people how they might show up for you or how they might appear in your environment, look at how the role that they're actually playing. Are they supportive of you? Do they really truly support your children? Like when certain things go down, what kinds of words do they speak to you? Do they even check on you? Like things like that. I feel like that is important. I feel like it's also important because this is teaching you as a whole. I feel like you've learned the importance of really cherishing yourself and your ability to protect yourself and give yourself a sense of validation, yourself a sense of worth, and then passing that on in the way in which you interact with and deal with and protect your own children. And know that if you can't get that in your own realm, be that for yourself and then be that for your children, and don't have the expectation for that. I know that there's this phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, but I feel like it's super important for you to make sure that you are feeding yourself with the positive affirmations that you need and supporting yourself so that you can vibe to people who will reflect that back to you. And then those are the types of people and individuals where you would feel more supported and feel like you are a part of a village that is a safe space in which to have your children participate and be entangled with, because really we're all entangled. That was like a funny word people came up with, entanglements, but we all, just by nature of living, we have entanglements. Just showing up, everything we do impacts others. And when you have a chance to see that your entanglements are detrimental to not only you but to your children, and you are given the opportunity to make a change, that it is so important that you do that. Okay. So the healing process for this card says, place your hand very lightly at the front and back of your throat and say, I now release all vows of silence I have ever made, consciously or not. I now release all lies, deceptions, and painful words, spoken or unspoken, that are affecting my ability to clearly know and speak my truth. I am held in unconditional love with protection and grace. So be it. You have finished this healing process. You might like to say something true just to anchor it. How about, within me, beyond all that rises and falls, only truth remains. All right, Sagittarius, that's what I have for your hindsight reading. I hope that this was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me on this channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. And until the next video, bye-bye.